Hello, Mr. Hausman, checking in. I must say, it's an honor to have you stay at our hotel. I listen to your podcast every week.
Thanks. I'm so glad you listened to it. But listen, I have to admit, this is much, much harder than I ever expected.
How so?
Well, I never thought I'd have to come up with something clever every single week to open up this show. After nearly a year, it's becoming quite a challenge.
Oh, do you think you'll quit?
Nah. I'll just keep trying to come up with hack jokes and hope no one notices.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. I want to welcome you guys to the show, and I want to thank everyone for the loyalty of listening every single week. And it's been great to see as the show is growing, how rabid the fan base is becoming, and how much fun we are having. So thank you so much for participating. Send me some great ideas and all of that good kind of stuff. I also want to thank you for reading my stuff in Hotel Management Magazine and following me at Traveling Glenn on Twitter. Make sure if you don't have that signed up yet, sign up for it now and you'll get notified when new shows are posted and all the other sorts of inanity that I do, such as my assignment with Here to Stay TV, where I'm hosting great video segments all of the time. And guys, like me on iTunes. I have to tell you this every single week. If you just would do it, then I would have to stop talking about it week after week. Go ahead, do it. I am appreciative of the folks that did go ahead and give me those likes. I do love it. It's nothing better than waking up in the morning and seeing more 5-star ratings on iTunes. I'll tell you, feeds my ego, makes me feel good, and I stopped thinking about being that little boy in the playground being picked last for the soccer team. It always made me very sad. I want to welcome this week, I got back the one and only Mr. Corey Neyman of the Neyman Group. How are you, sir?
Outstanding. Yourself, Glenn?
Great. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, last time we were in person doing this interview. Now we got a little bit of technology between us, but it's great to do this on Skype and to see your lovely face out there in Las Vegas while I'm here in New York.
You know, it's one of those things, the modern world. You know, hospitality, we always talk about people, but every now and then technology makes sense.
I love talking to you. It makes me hungry talking to you because you are the consummate food guy. I like to pretend I am, but you are living, breathing, and eating it every single day.
Well, I appreciate it, Glenn. You know, it's something I grew up in, and I've been very fortunate, you know, being in a family business and growing up in a food and beverage household where, you know, that's what we did. That's what we know. And, you know, being able to travel and learn and be educated and really share stories and go back and forth with people, that allowed me to get a greater perspective of this industry. And, you know, just like you, just like hopefully most other people in our business, we want to learn every day. And if we can take at least one lesson every day from a podcast, such as yourselves, or your own, from an article, from an interview, anything, just take it and be able to share with someone else and teach it and train with it, that's really what we're going after.
That's what I really love about being able to have this podcast as a venue to help share these experiences. And I love all of you listeners out there. You're really engaged. Yes, I'm talking to you. I know you're out there. You don't think I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to you directly right now, person listening. You're learning a lot here, and I love how engaged you are because this long-form format is something that's a lot of fun, and we could really get into these deep issues, and not my psychological issues that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, but for today, more like food issues, right, Corey?
Oh, hands down. I mean, if we're going to talk about your issues, we're going to have to call the wife. That's a whole nother story. Well, we'll get there.
Well, I can tie in my issues with food and my kids, and I'll tell you one of the things. You grew up in a food family, so I'm sure your dad feels the same thing that I did. It's a double-edged sword. It's great that my kids love to try new things and love great different foods, but heck, man, my bank account is really suffering because I'm not buying chicken nuggets. I'm buying ahi tuna.
Well, yeah, but the funny thing is, I mean, Glenn, we're sitting in 2017, and I think that, you know, if we were sitting in, you know, 1987, 1997, there's a different perspective. Mind you, you know, I was immersed in it, and I got to go to some of these restaurants, but kids nowadays are eating sushi at 5.
Yeah,
you know,
mine were.
Aware of what Himalayan pink sea salt is. You know, there are certain things, there's certain food products, and we are eating better a lot of times. I mean, yeah, certain times we're eating worse, and we have these moments, but as a whole, as a general community in a certain stratification, we're eating a lot better, and we're allowing our children, we're allowing our next generation to see that, and it's, depending on what we're talking about, it's a trade up or it's a trade down factor. I mean, right now, and I know you love this term, but eating someone else's lunch,
yeah.
You know, quick serve restaurants, you know, fast casual is eating the middle stratification's lunch. Without a doubt, there is such little middle dining anymore. There's fine dining, there's the top of the top, and there's the quick serve. that middle stratification is going away.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking, you look right now, look at 7-Eleven, look at Circle K. They're going after these quick serve restaurants because whether it's a sandwich, whether it's a hot dog, whether it's a burrito, whether it's a pre-made, or you go over to Hawaii, go over to Las Vegas, ABC stores. They've got poke, they've got sushi rolls,
wow.
They've got all these. But it's the trade up and the trade down factor.
Yeah, you're right. I remember the two scariest words in the English language used to be mall sushi. You know,
gas station sushi.
Yeah, that's no longer the case. You know, you go everywhere, and the quality of the product just seems to be so much better. And I will tell you one thing, Corey. In my house, when I punish my kids, I threaten to take them to McDonald's, and it's funny how they don't want to go. They don't want to have anything to do with fast food dining culture at all. They're much more interested in Whole Foods. They're much more interested in organic foods, but they're also interested in foods that are bad for you, but are really well prepared by great chefs.
100%, and we get that. Listen, I couldn't tell you the last time I went for a fast food hamburger. I couldn't tell you all these things, but I can tell you the last time I went for tacos. Mm-hmm. I can tell you the last time I went to the little Mexican quick serve taqueria down the corner. I could tell you the last hot dog I had. But that was a unique, special experience because it just so happened that I was in Detroit and I'm at the Joe Louis Arena. Last time they're closing down, find out it's a hot dog company that's been around since 1920 something. They use all gluten-free casings. They had a German mustard. They had sauerkraut. My mouth is watering thinking about it. But that was a good food a bad food that's good for you. Vice versa.
Right.
And and so it's interesting where, a good example, McDonald's last week announced that on their quarter pounders, they're going to fresh beef instead of frozen from now on.
Oh, look out, Wendy's.
But, again, you had Hardee's come out with another pitch where they're getting away from this sexy burger thing. They're going back to what they did in the past. I saw the commercial last night on the National Basketball Tournament. And I'm sitting there, I'm just laughing where you've basically got this millennial-looking guy who's all about boobs, tits, ass, monster trucks, all this stuff, and sauce dripping down his hand. And his dad, the senior, comes back to the party, says, "No, we're going to do it back how we did in the '70s when we first started."
Right.
Yeah,
it's really bizarre, and there's like a schism now in the fast food business. It's either you're trying to get really, really healthy or get so freaking horribly bad for you that you're going to look at the food and have a heart attack immediately.
But, it's funny you mentioned that, Glenn. No matter what anyone ever tells you about that we're going to eat healthy, we're going to do this, I'm going to have salads, I'm going to have boneless, skinless chicken breasts and do that, everyone wants to be bad.
Yeah, of course.
Everyone, if you have a chance to eat that chocolate cake in a hotel when you're on a business trip, you're going to have it. No matter what, if you say we do in-room dining or in-suite dining instead of room service, and we're ordering this, the Caesar salad or we're ordering the salad or this cup of soup, you're ordering the chocolate cake. It's just a fact. And, now people, I do it myself. You reason it out. It's like, you know what? I had a salad for lunch, so I'm having a steak for dinner. Yeah. And I'm having a piece of cheesecake.
Right.
Or I had that piece of cheesecake, so you know what? I'm going to hit the gym for 45 minutes tomorrow morning and just have the cup of coffee and, cottage cheese and an apple.
All right, I'm getting a little uncomfortable that you're spying on my en-suite dining habits over there. And quite frankly, if you eat a piece of cake when you're alone in a hotel room, it doesn't count. Nobody has to know with it. It's between me and my gastrointestinal system. And the two of us will continue to get along well. But you're absolutely right with the idea of trying to balance the foods that are really good for you and the foods that are more exciting to be a part of the eating experience, I would say.
Sure, but it's funny, we talk about good food, it depends on how you want to take that good food and the food that's good for you. And you can make flavor out of just about anything. And the question is it about the protein? Is it about the seasoning? Is it about the quinoa or the rice? And where's that trade-off going to be with flavor and being good or bad for you? And are you cooking for yourself? Are you cooking for the family? Are we out to a business dinner? I can't tell you how many business dinners, and I'm sure you're right there with me, we ended up at Steakhouses, right? Mm-hmm. And you know what? I can't digest 14, 16, 20, 24 ounces of meat. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't work for me. But everyone wants to have that steak. I know when I go out with my family, I go on a date, I go whoever, I put the steak in the center of the table. Mm-hmm. That's just, it makes so much more sense. And literally, Glenn, I can't tell you that. We laughed. I went out the other night on a Saturday evening. Not going to tell you too much, don't worry. And it was a couple glasses of wine,
Right.
shrimp scaping in the center of the table, steak in the center, which I had to slice, service failure, and then a side of risotto. You know what? It worked out, and guess what? We had shared everything. The woman ate more than me, which was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then she had the chocolate cake, and I had the Fernet. But it worked out.
Usually the female in dating equation pretends that she doesn't eat until she gets to know you a little bit better, then all bets are off at that point.
Yeah.
All right.
Next time.
So steakhouses, which brings us back to the Las Vegas thing. I have a rule in Vegas, and for all of you listening out there, this is a very important rule. I have to either choose to go out and have a steak dinner or go out and enjoy myself for the night, because quite frankly, I can't do both. So if I am going to have a steak dinner in the Las Vegas kind of universe, I try to do it on the night that I land, because I'm going to be all messed up with the 3-hour time zone shift from New York. So I like to go and have that big steak or whatever. But Corey, I had the most horrible steakhouse experience happen to me a few weeks ago. I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I will not tell you exactly where I was because I don't want to offend the place or throw them under the bus unnecessarily. But $45 bone-in ribeye. I asked it for medium rare. It shows up at the table. It's probably more cooked like black and blue and had no sear whatsoever. I mean, they destroyed a perfectly good piece of meat, and then the staff just kind of vanished and didn't say anything. So I wound up eating about a third of it. And then at the end of the meal, they're like, "Oh, is everything okay?" I'm like, "No, everything's not okay." And they offered to like recook it for me. Like, first of all, I don't want that same piece of steak thrown on a grill and brought back to me really sad. And secondly, my whole group has already moved on to something else. So how depressing. I was so excited about that steak, Corey, because I don't eat steak that often. I like literally, most families put up the Disney World countdown on a calendar where they go 5 days to Disney. I was like, how many days till that ribeye? And then I got it, and I got no payoff from it whatsoever. And as you can see, I'm still disappointed by it. I'm still sad by it. And I'm not sure I'm going to make it to the end of this conversation without crying now, Corey.
I'm looking concerned. I can hear it. You're feeling, you look for fun.
I know, I'm getting all warbly.
I know. Where's Barbara Richmond when we need her?
All right. So, people, steakhouses, come on. Give me a good solid sear on the outside. I mean, you're cooking these damn things at 1,200 degrees. The least you could do is make it seem like it's cooked well, even if it's going to be a little rare on the inside. But come on. Medium rare is something that all chefs should be able to achieve, even if you're paying them at a cook's salary and not a chef's salary. All right. So, Corey, I want to talk to you about food in Las Vegas, but I can't talk about food in Las Vegas yet because there's big news that's happened in town. You've gone from no sports teams to now 2 professional sports teams, like in almost overnight. You've got hockey, coming next year? And then football coming a couple of years after that. Oh, it's this year. Later this year.
We're going to have hockey in the fall. So
yeah, I meant next season, but yeah.
Okay, I know where you go. Yes, we're still in the middle of an NHL season. I know it's only April. It's okay.
Only another 6 months left of this year's season, and then right into the next one.
Fantastic. Gotta love hockey. But it's a winter sport. It's a game changer. It really is. I tell people all the time, and I truly believe this, that I think regardless of the financial impact on a city or a state of a sports team, I believe that a sports team brings a city together. I think it brings a sense of community. And there is, and there always has been a sense of community, but there's a certain amount of apathy that exists in our town, in Vegas, because it's been such a transient city. And a lot of people don't understand, but Vegas is growing up. Vegas is really, we've gone through some tough times, mind you. I first moved here in 1995, so I've seen it. I've been through it. And coming back and going through pre 9/11 and post 9/11. So it's really an interesting time. And now that we've got the Golden Knights coming in for hockey, which is a game changer, and then we'll have football in 3 years. But the great thing is, we've got 16,000 season tickets that were bought by locals.
Amazing.
And then it's great. And then you're going to have, Joe and Mary, who are coming from, let's call it Edmonton, because they're Canadians. They come twice a year. And they happen to love the Edmonton Oilers. But you know what? They can't get tickets to see the Oilers when they play in Edmonton. So they're going to come down. They're going to see a show. They're going to probably stay at an MGM property because MGM owns 50% owner T-Mobile Arena. And then they're going to try and find tickets when the Oilers are playing against the Golden Knights.
Which might be a little tough with those 16,000 season tickets sold.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be amazing. I think capacity for the hockey is about 18,500.
That's pretty cool.
That's
a huge stadium, huge arena.
Very, very big. It's stunning. I've seen music there. I was there actually on opening night, which is quite a spectacle. I've seen UFC there. I've seen concerts, and it's a game changer. It really is, and it gives this sense of community. I mean, you're driving down the highway, you see it, you can't miss it. And having a team, having people to say, you know what, it's one thing to say, people are like, wait, you're from Vegas? You're going back to Vegas? I mean, there are enough times I'm on the quote-unquote Vegas Express on an airplane because I'm traveling home, and the stewardess, flight attendant, whoever is like, oh, good luck, have fun. I'm like, I live here. Oh, sorry.
Is that weird being on a plane coming home when everyone's excited to be going away? Because, I remember when I was younger, it seemed like everyone was drinking on the planes, having a good time, but when you come home, all you want to do is sleep. So I don't know what that's like for you going home when everyone's enjoying themselves.
Well, I'm always excited to come home.
Yeah.
It's great. But because we travel so much for our clients and our business, I could be flying home any day of the week. And this week, I just so happen to be flying back on a Friday night. So I am definitely riding the Vegas Express.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So back to the sports thing for a minute there. You talk a little bit about how it's a sense of community, but even without that sense of community, I think it's going to be such a great driver for the future style of entertainment that we're seeing in the city. We've moved so far from the days of afternoon magic shows featuring lots of cats to the Cirque du Soleil stuff to headliner entertainments with their so-called residencies that they call it when they play 4 days a year. And then, now we're getting on to the whole sports phenomenon. I love it. I think it's awesome. It's different. And I think it's a way that a lot of people want to spend their Las Vegas vacation.
Oh, definitely. And I think giving people more opportunities when they're here, whether it's going to gamble, whether it's going to shop, whether it's going to see a game, whether it's see a concert, that's what we do well. I mean, we've got 140, 150,000 hotel rooms at this point. We've got all these conventions and conferences, and you layer in sporting events now, hockey, football. Then we're going to talk about, we're building a 65,000-seat arena. So we'll have the ability to host that NCAA basketball tournament or championship game. We're going to host the Super Bowl at some point. I mean, soccer, I mean, you name it, it's going to keep occurring. And so bringing the NHL, the NFL, those two powerful leagues in is just going to really exponentially drive our city. Who knows what else has happened? I mean, you've got the CEO of MGM who's gone on record saying in 5 years we expect to have a basketball team from the NBA in our city.
That'd be amazing, especially if they play at the T-Mobile Arena. That place is going to be hopping all the time. Absolutely spectacular. All right. I'm here talking to you about Las Vegas because I want to talk about food in Las Vegas. As much as I love the whole sports and entertainment aspect of it, we talked a little bit about general food trends that we're seeing. How are those food trends playing themselves in Las Vegas? What are some of the lessons that we should be learning from that?
Sure. Well, first of all, if you build it, people necessarily won't come. That's a big thing because, and a lot of people want to come to Vegas or take their 50, 100-seat restaurant from another town, bring it to Vegas, build a 300-seat restaurant.
Right.
It necessarily doesn't always work that way. And, the big thing that Vegas has taught us is you can't just do it your way. Mm-hmm. If you're going to come from, if you say, good example, say there's a celebrity chef, comes from New York City, 120-seat restaurant, very talented, comes in and does a 200-seat restaurant and says, I'm not making any substitutions. No substitutions.
Right.
So, and by the way, this did occur. I politely explained to this Iron Chef, we have to make substitutions or no one will come. He didn't understand. That his idea of no substitutions lasted 1 week. 1 week.
Right.
Because
everybody's going to come in and they want things they want to be, and they're on vacation, and they shouldn't be kowtowing to a chef's preconceived notion of stuff. I mean, I get where the chef's coming from.
Right. The funny thing is, we're going to get them to pay for it. That was the thing. We're never going to be rude about it. We don't want to try and fleece our guests, but if they want something, they're going to pay for it. And that's the whole idea. You want something special? By all means, yes, sir, no, sir, whatever you want, but you're going to pay for it. So with these food trends, I mean, things come in, things are very cyclical. We've seen a lot of things. I mean, poke and poke bowls, huge in the city right now. It's tremendous. It is unbelievable. I mean, nothing like fresh, dead fish that's on a bowl of hot rice or lettuce, but it's working. Steakhouses still here, but people trying to think about different ways to do them.
Steakhouses are eternal. I don't think those things are ever going to go away. Dining trends come and go, but steakhouses they go through different permutations, but the root of the notion is always still there.
Right, but with that, what's old is new again, which is kind of cool. We're seeing a lot of tableside service again. Caesar salad tableside. We're seeing desserts tableside. The presentation, the flair of dining is coming back, which is a big thing.
I would recommend you guys go back to over the holidays. I ran a bonus show on the Golden Steer, the oldest, coolest steakhouse, in my opinion, in all of Las Vegas, and they never stop doing the tableside dining with the Caesar salad and that kind of stuff. And they do a bananas Foster that way too, where they bring it to your table. And what felt weird about that in the 1990s and early 2000s feels really cool and innovative now in 2017. So it's funny how a trend could be really forward and make a lot of sense, and then kind of be really lame and stupid, and then be awesome again.
You know, and the crazy thing is, what it goes back to at the end of that day is service. Mm-hmm. It's all in the service. And if you, I mean, there were waiters and servers who for many years knew how to carve, knew how to toss salads, knew how to do these things, flambe. And that talent went away when you thought, oh, wow, we're going to make a lot of money, and then life happened. Mm-hmm. And now, people are like, wait a minute, I need to be re-educated. I need to be aware. How can I do something special, unique, different? Right. And that's what it goes back to. And I look at certain restaurants. I mean, there's a great pod of restaurants and I'm not involved in any of these guys, but I love what they do. Happens to be at the Aria, Carbone, Herringbone, and Bardot, run by 3 distinct different groups. Mm-hmm. But it's in each of those all about the service. You have one which is Italian-American dining, but super high-end, well done. Another one run by a nightlife restaurant or nightlife company, however, very talented chef, great seafood every day. Third one, another celebrity chef, James Beard Award winner, fine dining French with a brasserie. They all work, and it kind of flows because it's all about the service and the delivery. And that's what we do well right now. You know, you go to certain parts of the country, and you're going to have a great meal, but you might have terrible service. We give you that added value. We want that little extra second there. That's what it's all about.
That's interesting. People are still interested in that pomp and circumstance, but after the Great Recession set in, we kind of moved away from that white tablecloth dining and really seem to have focused a lot more on the casual, the upscale casual type of stuff. But I'm starting to feel that we're getting a little bit fancier again, or at least having more of a balance between the two when a person goes to have that Las Vegas experience.
Well, it is that balance. And out of those restaurants, one of them has no tablecloths, I just mentioned. They were bare wood tablecloths.
Interesting.
And yes, and so, but I'll tell you, the greatest, one of the best lunch deals in the city is at a high-end Greek restaurant that does white tablecloths all the way throughout. And it's 3 courses for $25. And it's fantastic. It is the best lunch in the city. Well, excuse me, second best lunch in the city. Best lunch in the city is right off the strip, and it is, they do chicken. That's all they do. It's great. Called, you got Glenn next time.
What's it called? Just chicken?
Well, close. It's called Flock and Fowl.
Flock and Fowl, cool.
And it happens to be right next to the Lucky Dragon Casino. Yep. It's a gentleman, him and his wife, he's got another restaurant. They serve lunch only 5 days a week, from 10:30 to 4. That's it.
That's pretty cool. I like that idea. Those people that have a manageable life, they can enjoy themselves. They serve up some good food. And I would highly suggest also checking out that Lucky Dragon Casino, the first new casino in town in a lot of years. I can't remember the last new one. I want to say Cosmopolitan was probably the last new one before that. This is a much smaller Asian customer focused type property. It's they've got authentic Chinese food and all of that. Have you had a chance to eat over there yet?
I personally have not gone. It's not on my radar right now. However, I will tell you, they've been open for 6 months.
Yep.
It's commonly viewed as the best dim sum in the city right now.
Yeah, man, I got to get over there. The next time I'm in town, I'm going to go check it out. I was in Vegas this past December, said I was going to go, got distracted by the Golden Steer, never made it over to the Lucky Dragon.
Right next door, right there.
I know, that's what happened. I was supposed to go to one, I wound up at the other, and then all of a sudden after that giant steak, I just, my horrible distended stomach, I was a mess. But we'll save that for another show, another time where therapy with Glenn, and we'll talk all about my overeating challenges. Okay, so what are some of the big food trends that you're seeing right now that may have come from different parts of the country that are expressing themselves in a fun, different way in the Las Vegas environment?
Sure. First of all, everything in a bowl. Everything in a bowl. It doesn't matter the cuisine, whether it's Hawaiian, whether it's Thai. Everything is in a bowl. And it's the idea of a vessel. It goes back to the style of lifestyle we're all leading now because we don't have any time. Mm-hmm. We have everyone's on the go, and you'll take a moment, but sometimes when you take a moment, it's still better in a bowl. And so that could be the ramen, it could be the poke, it could be a salad. Everything. It's all about that convenience factor. which is a big deal.
Right. You ever see that Patton Oswalt comedy skit about the Kentucky Fried Chicken bowls? How it's a big depressing bowl of sadness, or
Yes.
whatever it was. Hopefully the new bowl type cuisine is a little bit more upscale and approachable, and hopefully a lot less sad. But
Very much.
I agree. I'm seeing that particular trend too, and I happen to be a huge freak for ramen these days. My kids love it too, and it's nice because it's a third of the price of a great sushi meal. So anytime my kids want to eat less money, I'm always a big fan of that.
Very, very nice. You're right there. I think we continue to see the rise of Asian, Pan-Asian, and really everything from, Vietnamese is hot right now. Vietnamese and the freshness, and goes back to some of the French techniques that came over, but the vegetables and the herbs, that's huge. Thai is cresting again. I think we'll continue seeing Indian really coming up. Ethiopian's going to take a little more time, but it's there. It's got very pronounced, very distinct flavors, which I think is a big thing.
I like Ethiopian and African cuisine in general, but I feel that the American palate has still not yet arrived at that. They've done a great job. Americans have done a great job in embracing a lot of different Asian type styles of cuisine, but hopefully Africa will be next. But I think a good entree into that is Indian, which shares a lot of the same kind of basic spices and ingredients.
100%. And once you get some of those distinct flavors, even something as simple as turmeric. People finally realizing the importance of turmeric and cayenne to their health, and what that does, it's a big thing.
I just saw turmeric for the first time at my local grocery store, and a big pile of whole pieces of turmeric. They're probably about a 2-inch long slices, look like baby carrots almost, but a different color. And what I loved about that is they had a sign about the health benefits of it, and you could tell it's they're promoting it as the next big type of food.
It's there. Turmeric, I use powdered turmeric in food, in marinades. I do it, every morning. I drink a glass of it with cayenne, water, agave nectar, and helps stimulate the body.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. I do the old-fashioned method of highly caffeinated coffee to stimulate anything in my my body that needs stimulating. And as I get older, more stimulation is sometimes needed.
I'm going to leave that for another podcast, or the R-rated one.
Yes.
But that's something that's happening. I think we're also seeing huge one that is going to come up even more is Lebanese. Lebanese is prime ready. Whether it's certain meats or certain flavors, whether it's the sumac or the cinnamon. Americans are really, because we're all eating differently, as we talked about earlier, and we're eating better, hopefully. We're eating these bolder flavors now. And people are understanding how to eat. Not everyone, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
On the coast and moving in, there's certain. You remember when sriracha really was coming, over and it was in California. Then sriracha jumped the shark when I think it was Carl's Jr. Someone had a sriracha burger,
right?
Or Burger King had a sriracha mayo. So it's a question of how far that's going to go. I remember that in the late '90s when aioli was the new big thing. Mm-hmm. So what's aioli? Fancy mayonnaise. Okay. So, but now people are also understanding, okay, truffles, fine. What's a truffle? What's truffle oil? What's truffle powder? What's truffle salt? You're like, okay, it's not all equal here.
No.
And then
my understanding is a lot of truffle oil really has no truffles at all. It's just simulated flavors.
100%. It's totally synthesized. Totally. So when you go, everyone, if you're going to Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, anywhere, that you want to buy truffle oil, read the package. If it's cut with other olive oil or other oil, don't buy it.
Right.
And also, if you want to use something, use truffle salt.
Right.
Much better flavor, much more distinct. Or real truffle.
I feel like it's like a Simpsons joke. Buy truffle oil, no truffle included. One of those type things.
Right there. Right. Hey, going on season 29 right now, The Simpsons. We're right there.
Yeah. It's so true. I love truffles. I had the opportunity over the holidays. I was at a holiday party, and there was truffles on the salad we had. I think it was a truffle and beet salad. And the suckers around me were not into truffles, so I lost all shreds of dignity, grabbed it, and just ate it. It is like the most expensive food by the ounce on the planet. So what the hell? I ate it all. Second. What's the number one?
Saffron.
Saffron's more expensive?
Saffron is the most expensive per weight by volume in the entire world.
Wow. Well, thank you for that educational thing, and for publicly shaming me here on the No Vacancy podcast, coming at you every single Friday. All right. So
I do.
Yeah. So, Corey, we're starting to run out of time here, and I feel like once again we've gone off the rails. I had lots of ideas on what we were going to talk about. We didn't get to most of them, so we're going to have you back and do that again. But I would love for you to take some of these food elements that we talked about and tell me about whether or not you feel that they're practical for hotel-based restaurants and that sort of thing. Because these bold flavors sound great, but it's not necessarily appealing to the palate of the typical hotel restaurateur, or maybe they've created a sense that it doesn't make sense, but it really does. Wow, that was really poorly worded, but I think you understand what I mean.
I see where you're going, but I speak Glenn, fortunately, which is good.
He took 4 years in college of it, still hasn't quite figured it out. Very complex to understand what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Glenn, it's funny. We talk all the time about, wanting to do and everyone, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but everyone talks about millennials and what they want. So we're not going there. But everyone's forgetting about the boomers. We're still around. And the Gen Xers, which we do need to account for. And they've got money, by the way, finally. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to ask ourselves a question of, do we want to be a hotel restaurant or a restaurant that happens to be located in a hotel? That's question number one.
Very important question.
Very important. Number two, hotel dining is back. Hotel dining is absolutely back because restaurants that are located in hotels and hotel lobbies are now once again looked at as the lobbies of their city and the living room. And if you can be looked at as the living room of your city, that's a huge thing. And if we want to give, at the end of the day, are we resort? Are we leisure? Are we business, right? So we need to look at what we're offering and to who we're offering. If we know we have the ability, okay, if we have one restaurant and we're doing breakfast, lunch, dinner in that restaurant because that's the only room we have for it, that's fine. It totally works. So pick the style of breakfast you want to do, the lunch, the dinner, and knowing how you're going to capture it. Then, if you want to offer if you want to do American fare and do a traditional breakfast and do Caesar salads and burgers and steaks, that's fine. But what about experimenting with our menu? What about if you happen to be in Portland, Oregon, and you have visitors coming in all the time? Why don't we offer some Marion berries and some blackberries from the coast? And we know that Carlton Farms is down the road, let's do some, which is hormone-free, naturally raised pork. Let's offer that. If we know that we just so happen to be in Hudson, New York, you bet our bottom dollar we're going to be offering a duck. We're going to hopefully partner up with Hudson Distillery on offering something. And we know we're in Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale. We have tons of farms down there. You've got all the citrus groves. If you're in hill country in San Antonio, as you mentioned, okay, what about game? Elk, emu, rabbit, all these different elements. Let's be true to who we are as much as possible with our guests. That's very important. Let's offer them what they want. That's a big deal. We always get caught up in what we want. It's never about us. It's always about our guests. And we need to talk to our guests and establish it. But if we have the opportunity to have a special menu feature or a box on the menu or an upsell, heaven forbid we have a pre-shift and sit with our servers and talk to them and taste them out on this local beer, local wine, local beef, whatever it is, and then speak with our guests about it. And guess what? They're going to buy it. That's just how it was. I sit there and laugh for years. I happened at one point, I was in Portland, Oregon, was running a hotel restaurant, not a restaurant or hotel. This was a hotel restaurant.
Yep.
The good thing was we're in downtown, so we had a great local lunch business. And chef told me one day, he's like, hey, I got some beef from the eastern side of the state. I want to run a steak sandwich special. I'm like, by all means, chef. He's like, listen, but it's going to be $5 to $6 more than our most expensive sandwich.
Right.
No problem. It'll be a verbal. No problem. So day one, we sell out. Day two, we sell out. We had a great week. He's like, awesome. He's like, I want to put it on the menu. It's like, no, we're not putting it on the menu. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's going to be a special every day.
Right. Yeah. Is that because the perception of once it gets on the menu, it doesn't seem as rarefied and it's more obvious that it's super more expensive compared to the other sandwiches?
Well, that could be one of them, but I wanted it to be special. The whole idea was we knew that our price point was X and we're going to have a higher price point, but and I wanted our servers to be able to describe it because I felt they could describe it better and talk about it better than it just being on the menu. And I think it might be lost there.
All right. Well, now I want a steak sandwich, so thanks for that.
I haven't lost it. Sweet.
I appreciate it. So, of course, Corey Neyman is part of the Neyman Group. They are an awesome group of professionals that help restaurateurs become the number one place in their neighborhood. Everything you need to know about them, you can find them at the Neyman Group. But Corey, I'd like you to do a little shameless plug for yourself as well. What don't we know about what you guys are up to, and how can we find you?
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Glenn. Well, the Neyman Group was founded over 34 years ago by my father, Robert Neyman. He is still active. He's still our president. I happen to joined the business 11 years ago, and obviously on and off. And my brother Craig works with us as well. We have our offices in Las Vegas, Nevada, www.theneymanGroup.com. We're on Twitter. We're on social media, The Neyman Group. We provide every service you could imagine for hospitality, anything from quick serve and grab and go all the way up to 5-star fine dining. We've had the pleasure of working around the country, around the world, and arenas, casinos, theme parks, restaurants. And, when the world changed a number of years ago, we love creating concepts, and that's really what we're good at. But we became really Mr. Fix-It. We bring our toolbox with us. We do a lot of studies. We do a lot of analyses, food costs, beverage costs, project costs, product costs, and purchasing. And it's an exciting time. 2017, it's unbelievable because, no matter what's going on in the world and what's going on with the political scene, the purse strings have really been loosened a little bit lately. We're seeing that in the business where people are realizing in companies that they need to reinvest in who they are. And if the demographic and the guest is going to change, we need to make sure we support that and give them the opportunity to spend their own money.
Right, absolutely. And for you guys listening, take this. If the folks at the Neyman Group can tell a celebrity chef, Iron Chef, how to run his business and be more effective, think about what they could do for you. So drop them a line at the Neyman Group, or be sure to eat at all of the restaurants that they've consulted with, none of which I can tell you about because they like to keep that a secret, but they are many and they are all over the place. Is there any maybe that you could share there, Corey?
Well, there's a reason we do that because it's very important for us. It's never about us. It's always about our client. And we've always liked staying in the background, and that's extremely important to us. It is always about supporting our clients, getting them to be profitable, getting them to be successful, and staying in the background. And it's a big thing for us. We want to make sure our clients are the most successful ones. So that's a big thing.
So let me leave you guys with this before we go to commercial break. You never know if you're eating at one of the restaurants that they've had a part of, but believe you me, their fingerprints are on absolutely everything from major hotel chains to the Las Vegas culinary scene. Corey, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks as always for having me, Glenn.
And we'll got to get him back again in another month or two. I'm having a lot of time with these good conversations, and maybe one day we'll get to some of the conversation topics I have in my notes. Probably not, because we got too many things to talk about. I want to thank you guys for listening, and we'll be right back after this message.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No vacancy. The hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to the No Vacancy podcast with me, Glenn Hausman. You're listening to this right now. That's right, right now. You're listening. But you're not the only one. Many others are too. So my question is, do you want to get noticed? Guess what? I can help you with that. Every single month, my content delivers more than 100,000 impressions. I know. I thought the same thing too. Now it's your time to get you or your product, service, or brand known by leveraging my network. I'll work with you to find creative solutions that are going to get your message to the ears and eyes that you need to attract. Just send me a note at glenn@rouse.media or find me on Twitter at travelingglenn. That's glenn@rouse.media, ROUSE.MEDIA. And while we're at it, Glenn has got 2 N's. Thanks for listening, and now back to more great content.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
All right, guys, so one of the things that I really like to do is take time off. Well, I don't really like to take time off. I like to talk about taking time off, but I never seem to get any time off. And one time that I took off, I had a chance to go on a cruise, and it was with Carnival, and it was back in 1997. Yeah, I was still in my 20s and thinking I could enjoy myself in life. And it was so cool because to me, I got to sit in one place, and it brought me around to different places. I got to have great parties. I got to have fun food. I got to have great experiences and meet new people. And it got me thinking, darn it, I am covering this hotel industry too darn much and not focusing on another area of what we like to do, and that is the cruise business, because they are really thinking very customer focused, and they're thinking ahead, they're thinking different, and I thought it'd be really great to have Mr. John Padgett, and he's the Chief Experience and Innovation Officer, Global Experience and Innovation with Carnival Corporation PLC. How are you, sir?
Thank you. I'm great.
That's quite the long title. Do you need two or three business cards to fit that whole thing on there?
I like to just keep it simple. I focus on the guest and making the guest experience great. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Well, I think it really does. And what is it? What's the title anyway? I keep trying to think up cool titles for myself, and that doesn't seem to really work. Most people try to title me, and let me tell you, there, John, it's a little bit insulting what they're saying to me, but I can handle it. So you're working at Carnival now, but you came from Disney. It must have been interesting to you to switch from land-based to sea-based type of experiences, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Spent 19 years with Disney and now with Carnival. Actually, the organizations are very similar in the overall mission. I mean, they both have incredible platforms to stage great guest experiences, very large. Mm-hmm. Disney's being land-based with, Walt Disney World being, I think, around 43, 45 square miles.
Yep.
But then Carnival Corporation with over 100 ships, 10 brands, sailing to over 700 destinations and around the world, private islands, ports, lodges in Alaska, trains. So they're really both very substantial experience enterprises, and so it's very similar when you think about like that. If you think about the guests and guests having great times and having great vacations, and then all these physical assets just being stages to create amazing experiences.
And that's really what I want to talk about today, setting the stage for amazing experience and how customers are changing. Their desires are getting a lot more complex, and they're pretty darn needy these days, me being one of them, and how you're trying to stay ahead of them. But I do want to compliment you, because I'm a big fan of what Disney has done over the last 10, 15 years or so, really defining itself and getting people to stay with their product. One thing that you helped create was Disney's Magical Express, which I thought was an absolute incredible innovation there. Where did that idea come from? And boy, has that really been so successful for the Disney company.
Oh, wow. A Magical Express was one of the greatest times in my career and one of the greatest experiences, I think, that has been at Disney for some time, and it represented a true first in so many things.
And by true first, you mean breaking through the Mears blockade and getting them to rent you buses instead of forcing people to take taxis.
Well, exactly, and very few people would know, but actually Mears is a partner in Magical Express, so it's about embracing the community. But at that point in time, all investment at Disney was done within the berm, and there was I had devised this hypothesis that suggested that it wasn't about more stuff within the property. Mm-hmm. It was about eliminating the friction across an entire vacation experience, starting at home all the way through your entire vacation. And then when you analyze that, it showed that the arrival experience of guests into a destination is so critical. And to get to Disney from Orlando International Airport was complicated for guests. And so what we decided to do is just take the complication out and make sure that we eliminated all that friction. Guests could bypass luggage claims, still can, board a great thematic motor coach, get immersed in the story, have no worries, and then back at the resort be able to check your luggage before you even left your resort, so you didn't have to lug all that luggage back to the airport. It really represented probably the first in a whole series of products and services that Disney ultimately did that was about changing how guests experience the what, as I would say.
And all of that culminated in MagicBand and FastPass Plus. But what I found interesting
I
found interesting with Magical Express, John, was not just everything that you said, but also how you made it much harder for them to seek out other company theme park experiences, because now they don't have that rental car that they used to have. So they're more likely to spend a much larger portion of their vacation dollar at a Disney resort instead of going somewhere else. I thought that was clever, something that MagicBand and FastPass Plus also does to much extent. Now, what I like about MagicBand, and you had been part of that team as well, is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I was the the original visionary of it.
That's so cool, dude.
My team created it and developed it, brought it to market, and it was a wearable before the wearable category even existed. It was actually devised even before the iPhone was on the market. So it's very interesting, but it was a great experience being able to work on that and do something that so many guests loved.
That really is awesome. And John, let me tell you, I've gotten a lot of mileage out that as well with a lot of the speeches I do for hotel companies and stuff, using that as a massive example of success because you invented it. It's not only about, them knowing who you are and about getting into your room. That retail opportunity to me is genius, where you get people to add stuff to the bands in order to increase sales. It's your ride reservations. It's your restaurant reservations. It's absolutely everything in one easy place. Pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I think that what's stunning about it is in one move, whether you're 3 years old or 93 years old, you changed the way guests interacted with every product and service that existed across a 7-day vacation experience and made it simple and seamless. And then when that was packaged with FastPass Plus, it allowed access to more experiences, which really, but when you combine those two things, you get to what my philosophy is all about, which is maximizing guest experience.
Right, and that's what you do. Sorry.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's what you're doing over at Carnival. I want to try to get off the Disney part because we are here to talk about your role over at Carnival Corporation. And let me orient those folks that don't understand what Carnival is all about. Sure, they got the Carnival fleet, but they also have Princess Cruises, Holland Americas, Seabourn, Cunard, was it Aida? Is that how you pronounce it?
Aida,
right?
Aida,
just like the Egyptian thing, and Costa, of course, and P&O Cruises out of the UK, Fathom, and I'm not even familiar with the Fathom company, but I am with all of the other ship lines, and I can't help but say back in the 1970s, I really wanted to go on a Princess Cruise myself and hang out with all those folks on the Love Boat.
Well, it's kind of amazing is that Princess Cruises actually was almost the original experiential media. You think about what the Love Boat did for cruising. What would a cruise vacation be without the Love Boat? I mean, the Love Boat really introduced this entire sector into pop culture. So I think that you can't underestimate the power of media in influencing guests and their perceptions. So Love Boat still plays all the way to today.
And what would I do without being able to point at people like Isaac? I don't think I don't think I'd be able to handle it. Sometimes I just like to hang up in the crow's nest and wait for scorned lovers to come up and give them great advice and then point at them with a knowing smile.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Princess actually has a drink called the Isaac. So the next time you take a Princess Cruise, make sure to have an Isaac.
That's great. So now we're talking about transforming brands and how you're transforming the customer experience over at Carnival. And you've taken a lot of the lessons you've learned in your previous iterations of your life, and you helped create Ocean Medallion, which is a real personalization tool for customers. I'd love to hear how you're helping bridge that physical and digital world to deliver new personalized services, which is something that I preach on this show constantly. Everybody wants to feel like it's all about them. Sure, there's 4,000 people on that boat, but they're the only person that matters. How are you making sure that they are the only person that matters to them?
Well, I mean, you said it when you talked about bridging the physical and digital and maximizing the guest experience. That is what the Ocean Medallion does,
right?
And it's a real step function over anything in the market. Not commenting on the other markets that we may have just commented on, but what is so special about the Ocean Medallion is the guest doesn't have to do anything; they just have to have it. So there's no swipes required, there's no taps required, there's no touches required. Because what I wanted to do was create something that created this connectivity with the guest and the experience so we could maximize the guest experience and they could experience as much great things as possible, whether it's food and beverage or retail or entertainment or recreation or whatever it is across an entire vacation experience. I wanted that experience to be completely not only frictionless, but more importantly, personalized. And that's the new ingredient that the Ocean Medallion brings into the equation. What we ultimately want to do is maximize guest experience, doing it by personalizing each individual's experience while also, of course, eliminating any friction associated with consuming the experience. So we think that is the real secret formula, which is not too secret because I'm telling you, but it's all about the guest and it's all about maximizing that guest experience.
Well,
but personalization at scale is a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, John, we could talk all you want about these words that you're saying, but understanding it and acting it, it takes a really long time, and it's not as simple as people want to think about. You talk a little bit about,
definitely.
You talk a little bit about friction and trying to remove the friction from it. What were some of the trouble points that you saw with people's vacationing experience that you thought you'd like to get rid of? For me, it's like one of the things that you've done is I don't want to eat with the same people all the time, so you've created an ability for me to eat in different restaurants, right? So that's just one basic step.
Well, I think there's a couple of them. In the cruise space, I don't think that anyone would deny that the arrival experience and the embarkation experience is a bit of a hassle and kind of brings down the overall guest experience when you look at it holistically. And so, of course, allowing guests to experience an embarkation experience that is without hassle and frustration is very key. I think the industry is looking at it a little bit wrong because I think that the industry thinks that it's all about the speed through the port. But the reality is the ship leaves at the same time, whether you ran through the port or you spent 3 hours at the port.
Right.
So from my perspective, a port experience should be all about maximizing the guest experience, making sure that all the products and the services and the experiences are going to be available to the guests in the next 7 days. The guests have access to that to set themselves up for success. If that takes 1 minute or 2 minutes in a port, great. If it takes 2 hours, that's great. Whatever it takes to make that guest experience great is where we're at on that. When you get on board, I think that you hit on it. We have something called Here, Now, There, and Then that we're creating, which is all about on-demand services. Historically in the cruise industry, on any cruise ship, it doesn't matter what brand it is, there are physical places that provide products and services and experiences, just like in the land-based. And what we are doing is we're kind of turning that model upside down, which is allowing the guest to be at any location of their choice and request a product or service or experience, a drink or food or suntan lotion or even sunglasses to their lounge chair on the deck if that's where they want to be. So it's all about putting the guest
if they get up early enough to get a lounge chair, John.
Well, it's all about putting that guest at the center and then, maximizing that experience, giving them what they want when they want it. It's I like to compare to the innovation a little bit to some of the innovation that's been done with Uber and Lyft. If you think about a black car service, that was something that was previously just reserved for elite travelers or elite business folks.
Right.
But really what those innovations did is they didn't change the what. They didn't change the car. It's still an Escalade, it's still a town car, but they changed the how. And when innovating to change the how, so many more people now have access to that level of service when, where, and how they need it at the right price. And that, to me, is a great example of innovation in the marketplace around a consumer. And we're doing some very similar things as it relates to a overall cruise vacation experience. Bring those services to guests, democratize that previously elite level service that you would see at a Ritz-Carlton, a Four Seasons, or even a Seabourn, down to more volumes of folks so everyone can have bigger bang for the buck. Because ultimately, this, that bang for the buck is what motivates consumers and guests on vacations. It's not cheap. It's not expensive. It's all about how much experience I'm getting.
Yeah.
And that's what we were focused on.
Yeah, absolutely, John, because it is experience and it's the value for those experiences. And I don't want anyone to think here that it's about being cheap. It's about feeling like you've paid the right amount of money and getting more for it. Most people are willing to spend the money. They'll even spend, and we may even get into this now that you've democratized all of these things. You're talking about getting people to pay more for specialized VIP experiential opportunities and stuff like that in the future. But now what we're talking about is really being able to maximize each individual's experience on the ship and off the ship, and making them feel like they're getting everything they possibly can of it, making them feel pretty darn special at the same time. So how do you enact all of this, John?
That is so right. I mean, if you think about the personalization in experiences has not just been around for hundreds of years; it's been around for thousands of years. If you had the right amount of money and the right amount of people, but by democratizing that and bringing it down to more folks, it really is the game changer. And so we're doing that by connecting our guests. We're connecting them via the Ocean Medallion, and that medallion connects to an overall ecosystem that enables personalization at the individual level. You hear most people in the world talk about experience segmentation or guest segmentation or market segmentation, and we don't really subscribe to that because that profiles someone and then groups them and then offers them. That's not what we're about at all. We believe that not only everyone's an individual, but every individual guest can have multiple personas. Think about you on a vacation. You may go vacation with your family, and you're going to want to have one type of experience. You may go on a business trip, which you would like another type of experience, or you may go visit on a vacation with your college buddies, and that may be an entire different experience. So why should each experience profile you to be what you were before? We want all of this to happen in real time, and what I call the difference between big data and experience intelligence. Big data is something that businesses use to inform their operation that may help the next guy, but it doesn't help the person engaged in the experience right then. We have, through our experience platform, what we call our experiential IoT, that actually the information created from the connected guest fuels their experience in real time, making it individually special and making that connection equitable for the guest.
So what we're really talking about here, and IoT means Internet of Things in this context,
That's
yes?
Right. That's right.
So
exactly.
what we're trying to say, what we're saying here is that you're using big data and then machine learning techniques to better understand what the particular needs and desires of a customer are at any time based on the persona that they've decided to inhabit at that particular moment in time. Would that be correct?
That is exactly right. And the cruise ship provides such a unique platform to do that with that is unlike anything else in the world, because the cruise ship it's a contained ecosystem with identified individuals on that particular ship. So it allows that level of connectivity that is so hard at this point in time to replicate on land-based vacations. It will be, but at this moment, the cruise ship provides such a unique way to do that. And this is far different from, say, what someone would call a digital transformation or mobile app strategy. That is simply taking base products and making them available via a mobile app. This is an entirely different level of transformation and innovation where we're persistently connecting that individual, not and that individual has no requirement to interact into any digital device if they don't choose to, or carry their personal device, but yet they're connected into an ecosystem that allows the entire experience to ultimately to unfold around them as an individual.
Which goes back to you talking about removing that friction from the experience. When you're using app-based platforms, you're a lot more active in it. You have to pull it up, you have to scroll through it. But...
And there's so many considerations that you have to have. The medallion is very special. It has no on and off switch. You don't sync it. You don't configure it. It doesn't have settings. You just have to have it. And you don't even physically have to do anything with it. You can accessorize it or wear it as you choose or not wear it at all. But when you think about a mobile device-centric world, it is a completely different thing because you have to understand each individual's mobile device. Do they want to carry it in an international space? What are the connectivities on it? What are the settings on it? Does it have power? Can it be in the sun? Can you drop it underwater? How does it work in the sand? All these things that become a very complicating component. And that complication, if you're not careful, falls right in the lap of the guest. And so the only way to eliminate that is to eliminate all that complication and persistently connect the guest to this entire ship as a platform. And we think that that's very, very unique. It's not a mobile device as a platform. is a ship as a platform.
Right. And so theoretically then what you've done is you've enhanced everybody's interactions in such a way that they don't have to think about all of those things. And each time they have to think about something, oh, where's my phone? Where's my room key? Where's this? It chips away at the overall love of the experience that they're having, takes them out of those moments. And by taking away that friction part of it, you're way ahead of the competition already, even before you've left port.
Exactly. That is bingo right on.
Right. Good. I'm glad I'm figuring all this out because it's pretty.
I think you need to come join the team.
I think
we could use you.
Hey,
come on.
I would love that, John. I mean, I would to learn from you would be so amazing because the stuff that you've accomplished so far in your career has been absolutely fascinating to me. And to read all of those articles in major newspapers and magazines about all of these technologies, and now to get to talk to the guy that had an instrumental role in all of them is pretty cool for me. So, one of the things that we talked about is you're removing technology, the technology experience, right? You don't have to know technology in order to make it work. Let's talk a little bit about how perhaps I could use Ocean Medallion when I'm sitting on one of your awesome cruise ships there. What are some of the ways that I can interact and make my experience better?
Oh, there are so many. One is exactly what you just said, which is you're sitting there on our cruise ship and you want to know how your experience can be better. Dial up your favorite drink, and it shows up right to you. Dial up suntan lotion, shows up for you. Frictionless arrival departure. You get to walk into your stateroom without even sliding in a card or touching or tapping or pulling something out of your pocket. It's almost like a Mercedes. When you walk up to a Mercedes and the car door, opens up for you automatically, you didn't have to insert a key or anything. All of your media follows you around, which is very, very special. You can connect to games and games in a broader sense than just casinos, where you can now be connected to your digital dimensions. We have something we call tag-alongs, which are really, really cool because tag-along is basically an avatar, and that avatar represents you in the digital dimension, and it shows up across your overall vacation experience.
So does that mean I could be Brad Pitt then? Finally?
No, but you may be some. I don't think you could quite be that, but we have some very special things that you can be that you're going to love.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you there.
And it's all about creating connections.
Right.
Creating connections with media, creating connections in the digital space. And then all that works together to really make the interaction with the crew very special. Because at the end of the day, the most important service delivery point is always the interaction between the guest and the crew. And we are uniquely empowering our crew members through the same platform that they're connected to make sure your personal needs, wants, and desires are taken care of. So that is so, so important. That if all you wanted to do is drop the medallion in your pocket, go on a great Princess cruise, and have a personalized experience and never touch a screen, you can do it. Yet there's going to be plenty of screens. I think we have over 4,000 portals on ships, so there's going to be plenty of methods to access your digital dimension of your experience, even if you do throw your mobile phone in the safe.
That's pretty cool. So the new guest platform is going to be debuting on Princess Cruises' Regal Princess this coming November, followed by the Royal Princess and Caribbean Princess the year after. Is that correct?
That is correct. So we're starting out with the Regal Princess. It will be home porting at Port Everglades, and it'll do 7-day Caribbean cruises.
That's pretty. That's pretty cool. Now, one of the things was I was looking up some of the photographs of what this looks like, and it's called the Ocean Medallion, and it's literally a medallion, and it can be put into a watch, on a wristband, on a necklace, any other sorts of ways. So it really complements the way people want to experience technology on their body while on vacation.
Absolutely. See, with the medallion is every guest gets one gifted to them because it's so critical that everyone is connected. You can't democratize great guest service unless everyone's participating in it. Cruises, different destinations, they're always announcing next level service. But when you dig at it, it is for some small portion of the guests get access to an additional service at additional cost with additional labor. And that's not what we're doing here at all. We're creating a platform that rises everyone, and that's what we're excited about. That's why everyone gets a medallion. Everyone gets connected. But then it's the guest choice on how to wear the medallion because or not wear it, because since they don't have to do anything with it, there's no human factors engineering associated with that. So if it's, I don't have to tap it. So if I wear it on a necklace, I don't have to take my necklace off to then tap it against a door handle to get into a door. So it's very unique, and it, by allowing it to have so many degrees of freedom, the guests can choose to do whatever they want with it as long as they have it.
And I also like this technology over competing technologies for guest room entry, for example, in the traditional hotel business that use your phone. Because I always worry about coming back to my room at 3 a.m. in Las Vegas, my phone is dead, walking all the way down one of those long hallways, and then I can't get in. With the Medallion technology, it's always operational, right?
Absolutely. That is key. Very key. Exactly what you said.
Great. Awesome. Any other points that we should be talking about here with the Medallion technology? If not, I want to hear what you're thinking about in the future.
Well, I think that where we're at is it's all about creating a platform that maximizes our experiences, and the Medallion is that method to connect our guests, and we're so excited about it. But it's not about the Medallion. It's about the guest experience. And our guest experience, we want it to be personal. We want it to be frictionless. We want it to be a bunch of fun. We want to have great interactions between the crew member and our guests, and we want the guests to be able to have the experience of their choice at any time, and with, as we mentioned before, with any persona that exists for that particular experience. So, none of this, hey, you shop online, you actually look at a stainless steel refrigerator on Google, and then all of a sudden for the next 3 months, you would think that stainless steel refrigerators are on every browser that you dial up, even if you bought the stainless steel refrigerator that morning.
Yep.
We don't want that with your experience. We want that experience to be awesome for you at that second, at that moment.
Yeah, you are so right. Speaking of experiences and ideas, when I think I have a great idea, I wind up getting a beer from the fridge or going to get some barbecue. When you have a great idea, you reinvent the way that people have customer experiences. How the heck do you come up with ideas such as Disney's Magical Express, the Ocean Medallion system, even the Be Our Guest restaurant at the Magic Kingdom? Where do all these things come from? Is it that you look at technology first or think of the idea and then bring technology into it? How's that all work in your brain?
So it's definitely not about technology, because the way I think about technology is guests don't really consume technology, right. And if technology is there to use it, we'll use it. If it takes to invent it, we'll create it. Really where it comes is a belief and a mission that you can change an enterprise around a guest and morph everything you do around the guest, because at the end of the day, the guest is the one with the wallet. Every dollar that is consumed ultimately comes from the guest's wallet. So
right.
Everything you should do should be in service to that guest. And so if you think about experiences with the guest at the center and then have the confidence that you can recreate anything it takes to please that guest, then the rest of the stuff follows. That's the first component. The second is having an awesome team. I've had a great partner in all of the development efforts since the MagicBand, in Michael Jungen. He's my wingman and right-hand man in all this development.
Yep, and that's really what everybody needs to think about. It is all about the guests. And, John, you said something that was really telling that I kind of let slip by, but you're all about the guests connecting with the people that are on staff on all of the ships. I talk a lot lately about how you don't come home from a vacation and go, boy, was that a great chair in my room. You talk about that great experience that you had, the interpersonal connections that you had with the individuals that were there. And it sounds like all of the technology and stuff that you're incorporating into Carnival Corporation is really designed to enhance the interactions between the guest and ultimately the staff on the ships. Oh, great word. I'm stealing that. Yeah. Excellent. Any final words before we sign off here? And you do need to give me some shameless plugs as well. Yeah, well, thank you so much. And, throw out some websites. How can people book these experiences starting in November on the Princess Cruise Line? Ocean.com. That's pretty cool. There was someone definitely awake at the switch there in the 1990s to nail down that one. For sure. I want to thank you for being here, John. I had such a great time talking with you. You're the type of guy I feel like I could talk to for hours and hours, but you're probably done with me. So I'm going to let you go. I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank everybody for listening. Be sure to drop me a line, Glenn@rouse.media, or find me at Traveling Glenn. Tell your friends, tell your family, stop strangers on the street. Subscribe to the No Vacancy podcast, and I will be back next week. That is, unless I decide to get myself a job on a Carnival cruise ship at the Crow's Nest, serving up drinks to all those scorned lovers. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next time.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.